appreciate everybody taking the time to be on this webinar. We're very excited that Moms of Black Boys is going to be presenting and to learn about their program and their initiative. They're one of our new partners in Act Now. And those of you who are continuing to work, and encourage you to continue to work with Shelley and Tanner on your theory of change. And so we can get that wrapped up and participating. And also, we're going to be introducing a potential new project for those who are interested in focusing on chronic absenteeism and some opportunities that are surfacing. And also to update you on the fact that we're going to probably be bringing on a number of new sites coming from upstate New York in terms of the criminal justice organization there that has historically been focused on guns, but they're now moving more towards youth deflection programs to keep people away from gun violence. And so some opportunities that are surfacing in that regard. I wanted to just very quickly, I think we're working on the funding mechanisms to be sure people are getting the money that was committed in this first round grant funding. And Colleen is working with the Rockefeller Foundation to get that process moving. They've been slower than we had hoped, but wanted you to know that's in process. And so I'm going to turn it over to Tanner, and he'll talk about the online community engagement, and then Shelley, our theory of change. Okay.
Thanks, Jim. Well, for everybody there's a lot of people here who are new to me. We had the great opportunity of being together as a community in Boston.
Man, these motherfuckers, bro.
And we're able to show everybody who was in Boston Circle, our online community. I'm going to have to keep admitting people as I'm talking, so we'll do the best we can here. What I wanted to do today is just take a few minutes and show you. Are you seeing my screen? Give me a thumbs up if you're seeing my screen.
Yep.
Okay, so this is the Circle community. I wanted to give an update. We've done a lot of work in here, and especially because we have some new people on board, I want you to see the value that we've created into this community. This is through a platform called Circle. You can access it through your browser. It's act-now.circle.so, or you can get it through the app. If you have any trouble getting on Circle, please message me in the chat, and I will help you while we're here today. And I'll do that as soon as I'm finished. Oh, let's make sure we're admitting everybody. What I wanted to do is just show you a brief overview of how this is laid out and the value that it can bring to you. So over here on the left side, you can see sort of the menu that shows the options where you can look inside of Circle. Right now I'm viewing this as Aisha. So we can see what it would look like for you, anybody who's here. There's this new member center, start here. I want to invite everybody, if you wouldn't mind just opening up Circle while we're talking today. I think it'd be just to make sure that you can get in here. And if you'll go to this start here, new member center, again, if you can't find that or if you're having any trouble, just shoot me a message in the chat and I will help you individually after I finish kind of giving this overview. In this start here section, there's just a couple things that might help you get oriented if you're new to our online community. The reason we have this community is every single group that's connected with Act Now is working on their own project in their own area. And in a lot of ways, we overlap and have similarities. And in a lot of ways, there are things that we're doing that are different. And that's one of the values, one of the significant amount of value that you get in being part of the Act Now community is learning from others who have maybe paved the path a little bit in a way that you maybe haven't. And there are several ways that we're collecting that information to share. I wanted to show you, so in the community center here, there's this open discussion. This is a place where you can ask your questions, where we can start kind of some dialogue and try and open the door for us to connect with other sites. This is kind of where that happens between the webinars that we hold, and then through this online community, this is where it happens. Here, if we click on monthly webinars, you'll see right now we've got this webinar happening, and then here's our next one. We'll try to always have 1 or 2 on here, and you can click these RSVP buttons, and it will give you a button where you can add it to your calendar. I mean, assuming since you're here, you know how this works. But for those that are going to watch this recording, this is where you can access the information about the upcoming webinars. We also have created this toolkit. Shelly and I have been working on this. A lot of you have had a chance to go through this theory of change course. Looks like Aisha, who I'm viewing this as hers, has not had a chance to dive in here yet. But these are courses. Right now, it's the theory of change course that we're looking at, but we're working on other courses that will help guide you through the process of some of the various things that we do with Act Now. There's also inside this toolkit a section where you can see the recordings from the webinars, and you can go back and view those. They'll all be right there within about a week after we do these webinars. And then we also have this resource library here, which I'm going to have Shelly chat about in just a second, that we are building out right now that has resources that you can access that may help you specific to a topic. But before I have Shelly dive into that, I wanted to show you in this Start Here section, we've got this new thing that we're releasing. We feel really strongly as an Act Now team that the success of this online community is totally dependent on how active we are in using it, both for the staff, for the site coordinators, and for everybody within your site. So if you're a site coordinator listening to this and there are people on your team who are not in Circle, there's a lot of value that can come by getting them here inside of Circle. If you need help with how to get them here, please reach out to me. I can help you with that. We click on this Earn Badges. This is a new initiative that we're starting where the platform actually has a leaderboard that keeps track of how many times you have posted something, how many times you've commented, and then how many times somebody has liked one of your comments or posts, okay? We can actually view the leaderboard right here. And let's go ahead and, oh, look at, hey, I'm the leader because I'm the one that develops it. So don't read too much into that. But you can see who's posting, and these points are based on how many posts, how many comments you make, and then how many times people like your posts. And so what we've done, oh, let's let everybody in the waiting room here. One moment, please. Okay, so what we've done here is we've created badges that will go next to your name inside of Circle as you provide value in our community. So we've created this new member challenge, and when you complete this new member challenge, you get this newcomer badge, which people will recognize. They'll see it next to your name whenever you comment or make a post, and that will help us recognize, hey, this is somebody new. As Jim mentioned earlier, we're on the verge of adding potentially 25 or so new sites from New York, and we predict that this will continue to grow. We'll continue to add new sites. And so this community will become a place where we will have community organizers from all over the United States who have expertise in one or more areas that are here in this community. And we want to connect each of you with each other. So this is one of the ways that we're going to kind of keep track of that. So as you collect these points from posting and commenting, when you hit 25 points, we'll give you this Explorer badge. And when you hit 75 points, you get this Contributor badge and a $25 Walmart gift card to celebrate both Walmart, our funder, and the success as we grow out our community. So what I'd like to do today is invite everybody to earn this newcomer badge today. If you're here in the webinar, there's 3 things that need to happen in a new member challenge, one of which is being at a webinar, RSVPing and coming to a webinar. So you're all here. That means you've already done one of the 3. The other 2 are to complete your profile with a photo, a headline, and a bio, which will take you less than a minute. And then second is to introduce yourself in the open discussion. So I'm going to click that and show you what this looks like in the open discussion in the community center. If you click start a post, oh, it's not going to let me do it because I'm not Aisha, and I'm viewing it as her. But if you click start a post, it will give you the opportunity to write a little post, a few sentences about who you are, why you're here, why you're part of the Act Now, and maybe some of the expertise that you have. And then it will give you the option to say, to tag. You're going to tag it and say, introduce yourself, right? So right now there are no posts connected to introduce yourself. If each of you would please take the time, just 1 minute or so, to fill out a post to introduce yourself. I want to make sure everybody knows how this works, because again, the value of this community is totally dependent on us actively using it. So I would invite everybody to do that. You'll also notice in here, and you're probably getting emails or notifications on your phone if you're inside of Circle. Pauline has been posting these resources on a regular basis. There is some really good stuff that comes through here, and I'd like to encourage everybody to do their best to be inside of Circle on a weekly basis if possible, either consuming some of the content or sharing some thoughts or opening up questions. And this resource library is also new. Shelley, do you want to take a minute and share your thoughts about
Sure.
this resource library?
Absolutely. So we've begun pulling together some of the best resources that we have in each one of those. Tanner, maybe you could go down to the youth deflection one. So the Act Now, so you can see we have articles, we have resources that have been really instrumental in helping us to form Act Now. And we're also going to be drawing resources for those of you who are working on your theory of change, which is so much fun and I'm really enjoying, and have been including your resources there. We'll be pulling from that to add to this library. The goal here is to have really one place where you can dive in as deep as you need to, as you like, to learn best practices and to share best practices. If you have resources that you would recommend, including, we invite them, and I'll ask you to just shoot them over to me. I'll just stick my email in the chat, and we will include them here. So thank you for everyone who's already contributed. We'll keep building this library so that it's really useful for our community.
Awesome.
And
Thank you,
a little plug for Theory of Change also. So many of you have already consulted with me on and put your first draft together. Thank you. I'm really encouraged and really excited. Every one of those conversations is just sort of soul nourishing for me. So I really enjoy that. And I'm also so impressed. So keep it up. Our next webinar, we will be sharing our theory of each site will be sharing their theory of change. So take a look at the timeline. We'll keep sending out little reminder notices. There's a few more sites I'll want to have a little conversation with so that we can get you what you need in order to be ready for that presentation. So thanks everyone who's been participating, and we're really excited about how that's coming along. Jim, I don't know if you had anything else you wanted to say about theory of change.
No, just it's important to get that done. It's part of our reporting to our funders, what each of the sites is doing, and it helps guide us in our planning and also their funding. So your help will be, and participation would be really important. Thanks, Shay.
That's it from me, Jim.
Okay, very briefly, I'm going to ask Lexi Sundberg. We've had a number of questions about the conflicting messaging on crime data, whether crime is increasing or whether crime is decreasing. And of course, that in some ways depends on where you live. But I've asked Lexi to take about 5 minutes to give a quick overview of some of the data that she's found, and then we'll provide this as a report to all the sites, and we'll put that on Circle. But Lexi, if you will take a few minutes just to give us an overview.
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Lexi. You might have seen me in emails asking for your stories. That will also be on the resource tab. And if you haven't yet, then I will be sending you an email very soon. But I am a research assistant for Act Now, and so yeah, I was asked to do like Jim said, to kind of look into the crime reporting, the crime trends over the past couple of years, and report back to you. Tanner, if you could go to the next slide. Thank you. So really quickly, the crime data is collected by two different organizations. Can everyone hear me, by the way?
Yes, we're good.
Okay, perfect. Okay. Crime data is collected by two different organizations. On the whole, the FBI puts out their Uniform Crime Report every year in January, and then the Bureau of Justice Statistics does a National Crime Victimization Survey every year as well. The FBI collects data from participating law enforcement agencies in 2023, which is the most complete recent data that we have. Over 85% of law enforcement agencies reported their data. So it covers about 94.3% of the population. So not 100%, but like a good amount of the population is reported in this crime report. If you've reported a violent crime, the FBI has said that of the 12 major metropolitan areas, over 1 million people, all 12 of them have reported 12 months of data. So it's a really complete, almost complete picture of reported crime. This only measures crime reported to law enforcement. So if you have not reported a violent crime, then that does not count. And then the Bureau of Justice Statistics does a self-reported survey. Basically, they call about 140,000 households and say, have you been a victim of a crime in the past 6 months? And reports the answers. That's more demographics information. If you're really looking for like statistics based on like race or ethnicity or type of crime, that's where you find that best. And that only measures non-fatal crimes because they interview victims, so murder doesn't count. But that also can include crime that was not reported to the police. One of the questions is, did you report this to law enforcement? Next slide, please. So this is the crime trends in 2023. I'm going to show you some statistics, and then there'll be a graph at the end to really, for those who are more visual. Crime is actually down 3% from 2022. You can look at all those breakdowns. Murder is down 11.6%, which is the largest drop in 20 years. Rape is down 9.4%. Just a side note, rape's definition was changed in 2023. So this is like, it's confusing, but this is the new definition of rape, and it is down 9.4%. Aggravated assault is down 2.8%. Robbery is down 0.3%. There was an increase in motor theft, 12.6%, and shoplifting, 15%. That is probably due to pandemic reasons. It's a little bit too soon to tell why that is trending upwards, but most experts think it's because it's ramifications from the pandemic. Next slide, if you would, please. And then we have some crime trends for 2024 in the first quarter. So this compares only January through March from 2023, and then January to March in 2024. So this is not the whole year. It's just kind of a snapshot of those quarters. And crime is down 15.2% from 2023 quarter one to 2024 quarter one. Murder is down 26.4%, rape down 25.7%, aggravated assault down 12.5%, and robbery down 17.8%. So on a whole, crime is trending downwards in pretty big numbers, pretty good numbers. If you will go to the next slide. There is reports of increases in violent crime. There's one statistic that goes around that says there's a 40% increase in crime recently, and that is true to a point. So the 40% increase in crime that you hear a lot is that is the increase from 2020 to 2023. Now, 2020 is a weird year, as we all know and can remember, but crime was at a historic low that year because everyone was inside. Lots of factors contribute to that. And then 2021 and 2022 were bounce back years. So those 3 years of reporting are really anomalies, and we shouldn't, like, yes, crime is up 40% from 2020, but it's an anomaly. Really, if you want to compare it to pre-pandemic levels, we are back about the same as 2019 in terms of crime levels. And so the downward trajectory of crime is back to normal. It's not statistically different from 5 years ago, according to the FBI. And then last slide is our lovely graph. So if you can read that graph, crime is down 50% since 1990, from 1990 to 2022. That's a crazy amount of like decrease. And it has been continuously going down, down, down. I mean, besides that one blip in the pandemic, it's really efforts like intervention and like community development that are bringing this further down. And so that's a lot of you guys, of what you guys are doing. Yeah. So on the whole, crime is going down. That doesn't mean there isn't crime, but that does mean that our communities are getting safer and a lot more, yeah, community minded, I guess. And that is my report. I will have all this information and all my sources in the report, probably put on Circle. So that will be there for you to access soon.
Thanks, Lexi. This crime data is important, particularly as we connect and relate to, interestingly enough, one of the reasons Walmart is very concerned about youth deflection is they employ about 480,000 young people between the ages of 18 and 25, and they're the largest youth employer in the country. And they're wanting to keep young people out of the system so that they can be employed. And they're providing a variety of belonging resources to connect young people to community efforts. And Act Now and what we're doing in these pilot sites is giving them some guidance on how to do that. So we'll post this material from Lexi, and we'll probably have a more thorough discussion, particularly on youth crime, a little bit later. But right now, I want to introduce Moms of Black Boys United and Kimberly Robinson Alexander, who is the executive director of this program. The several conversations I've had with Kimberly, I am so impressed with the work they are doing. I think they're in 8 cities and the District of Columbia, or 8 states and the District of Columbia. And they're doing some impressive work to really give mothers or moms the resources they need to support their young people, particularly young men in the community. And so ask Kimberly to do a presentation. We'll have time at the end for questions or discussion. And Kimberly, I'll let you add to your introduction. It's very impressive in terms of your personal bio and the work that you do. I saw you on Facebook meeting with the Congressional Black Caucus a couple of weeks ago, and you're having an influence, and we're honored to have you a part of Act Now. So Kimberly, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Jim. I really appreciate it. I am happy to be part of this organization and looking forward to getting to know everyone. Tanner did challenge me greatly with my time constraints. So I will keep it moving. I think one of the most important things that I can tell you about me is that I am the mother of 4 and grandmother of 1.5. I have a 30-year-old daughter, a 26-year-old son, a 24-year-old daughter today, and I have an 18-year-old son, 10-year-old granddaughter, and one that's cooking. Outside of that, I have been a nurse by trade for 15 years. Part of Mob United since its inception, was a board member, and took over as executive director in June of 2023. It has been a labor of love from the very beginning and continues to be that for me. I want to start with an opening video. Tana, it's embedded in the picture, so if you just click on the picture. And just start the sound. I'm not sure why we're not hearing it.
Can you not hear it?
No, we can't hear it.
Maybe I'll stop sharing and let you share.
Sure.
Maybe it'll work because you're presenting.
Sounds good.
Just playing loud in my headphones.
No worries. I am going to go to the deck and are you seeing the deck?
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, perfect. Now you guys tell me if you can hear it or not.
Same as it ever was.
Can you hear it?
It's gotta be a better way. It's the same as it ever was. But today's a different day. You and me couldn't make that change. But it's the same as it ever was. We better start today. America's a better place than it was 50 years ago. There's been a whole lot of change, but we got a long way to go. When we used to have a problem, we used to call the police. But who we gonna call when the police make a problem? I'm not saying that they all bad. I'm not saying that I'm any better. All I'm just trying to say is we could all do a lot better. I say it in my own house, and I say it on the street. I say it on the record, y'all, and I say it on the beat. I paint it on the wall, y'all, so that everybody sees. When we all see justice, then we'll all see peace. Same as it ever was, but there's gotta be a better way. Same as it ever was, but today's a different day. You and me couldn't make that change, but it's the same as it ever was. We better start today. A revolution is a battle between the future and the past. The battle's never over, but the future's gonna last. Malcolm had an ex, yo, and the king had a dream. And like Spike Lee said, yo, you should always do the right thing.
So I opened with that video because
Most people have no clue that in 20.
figure this out. All right, let's get back to the deck. I opened with that video because it really is a testament to our why. We started 8 years ago by mistake, literally. Our founder, her name is Depelsha Magruder. She is the mom of 2 Black sons. She was traveling from Atlanta home and saw the news coverage of Alton Sterling's murder in Baton Rouge. Got home and heard the news story about Philando Castile, thinking it was still conversation around Alton Sterling's death. She was distraught and paralyzed by the news that 2 Black men had been killed back to back, and created a group on Facebook, added 30 friends of hers who she knew had Black sons, and then went for a walk. She came back a couple hours later and there were 17,000 moms of Black boys in this group that she had left public unbeknownst to herself. Many people think that that's amazing. For me and for us, it's sad. It's sad because within 3 months, we had 177,000 moms of Black boys in a group on Facebook, all crying out for the same thing, a change, and to feel different about what it is that our sons experience. So very shortly thereafter, we started a 501c3 and a 501c4 respectively, Moms of Black Boys United, Inc. and Mob United for Social Change. Our C3 is our resource arm and our C4 is our advocacy arm. So my quote, my personal quote is always, I didn't birth babies to bury them. And it is the quote that I live by. I did not give birth to children to turn around and have to funeralize them. And so this here is a list of many of the reasons that we get for why our sons don't make it home or have been hurt by police officers or vigilante killings. Things that can end catastrophically for Black boys: walking, leaving a party, buying loose cigarettes, driving, being accused of a crime, being Black, having a seizure, calling an ambulance, having car trouble. You guys can go through the deck and you know, all of these things are bona fide defenses that police officers as well as community members have used for why something catastrophic has happened to a Black boy or man.
Full transparent moment. I'm a bit distracted. No, seriously, because I am literally receiving text messages right now that my son is in custody. They have my 17-year-old son who fit the description.
Your son?
My son. That's why I keep looking down. I am
Yeah.
literally receiving text messages right now. And had to text a friend to check on him to find out what is going on. But he is being accused of trespassing at a store, and now an officer is running his background. He's 17.
Mm-hmm.
But these are the moments, like my heart is in my stomach, because these are the kinds of moments that can go so drastically wrong. So I'm sitting and I'm having a conversation and I'm getting a blow by blow narration of exactly what's happening.
You're doing this podcast.
I'm doing this podcast, and I'm gonna keep on doing this podcast because it's real life. This is what it's like, ladies and gentlemen, for moms of Black boys. This is it. This is it. This is it right here.
I share that clip because I was actually having a conversation with Marvin and Joan Anderson in that video. Marvin was accused of raping, sodomizing, and attempting to kill a white woman down south, and subsequent to that spent 30 years in prison for a crime he did not commit, was exonerated by the Innocence Project of New York, received a settlement, and has now dedicated his life to doing work around the Innocence Project. So in the midst of talking to a man who had been wrongfully accused, my 17-year-old son was in police custody.
We're not getting the sound, Kimberly.
That's who our children really are. That's who they are. That was an auditorium full of 500 young people, Black and brown, at a Know Your Rights camp with Colin Kaepernick, who is one of Mob United's partners for the Know Your Rights camp. And that's how we see our young people. They are bold and brave and happy and joyful and just want to be seen that way. They want to be celebrated, and they want to have people understand exactly how they contribute to our society. I struggled with this slide. I got Tanner's note that said, here's your challenge, keep it short, keep it sweet. And so I put some things together, and it's interesting that amongst all of the things that we're learning about the crime data and how much crime is going down, we still see numbers like this, where the rate of police shootings in the United States as it relates to Black and brown people continue to go up. Among Black Americans, the rate of fatal shootings between 2015 and 2024 stood at 6.2 per million of the population per year. That's an astronomical number, especially when you compare it to our white counterparts, where it's only 2.4 fatal shootings per million of the population per year. Other statistics that I was able to find, law enforcement officers cause an estimated 250,000 civilian injuries a year. 85,000 of those require hospital treatment. 24.9% of persons killed by law enforcement, 6.1% of those are excuse me, I'm sorry, Black males are 6.1% of the total US population, and 24.9% of them are the people who are killed by law enforcement. Take that information and equate it to the school to prison pipeline, which is one of the main focus points of Mob United. And when you look at the interactions of individuals with police officers as adults, it really starts in the preschool era. Mob United participated in a research study some years ago related to preschoolers and their rate of expulsion and suspension from 3-year-old programs. And from 2017 to 2018, Black preschoolers made up 43.3% of all expulsions and 38% of out-of-school suspensions in preschool, despite only being 18.2% of the total student enrollment. Those numbers don't change over time. The same is true for grade school. The amount of expulsions and suspensions that happen in grade school, and especially since we now have SRO officers in the school who are criminal minded, and not that they engage in criminality, but their job is to deal with criminals. And so that is what they see when they're in the schools. I'm not going to go through all of this. I know this deck will be available to everyone, so I want to move on. One thing that I want to highlight is I added links to a couple of studies down here because I think they are really informational, and I hope that you guys have an opportunity to look at them. I will click on this one, which is a Washington Post article that was done during or just following the pandemic, where we were talking about parents' mental health struggle, how when a parent's mental health struggle affects their children. And I think that there's a direct correlation between this and how we deal with our children in the home and how our children are affected by what's going on. And I had the pleasure, grandson, of being a part of this project. And the reason why I is because of this boy right here. My son, who is now 18, 17 when he had that police contact, but he had his first police contact when he was 9 years old in elementary school, where he was accosted by 3 Texas state troopers and 2 police dogs for bringing a Ziploc bag of oregano to school. And my son has never been the same. That happened 1 month before Mob United was started, and it really is why I became as involved with Mob United as I have. So I do encourage you guys to go ahead and take a look at that article and the other studies. Mob United works on a 5-pillar approach: change perceptions, influence policy, demonstrate our power, partner strategically, and promote self-care. Everything we do is pretty centered around these things. We do these things in a lot of ways, but it all comes back to this thing. And this is a combination of the 501c3 and the 501c4 work that we do. Key community challenges. I think that if I had to drill those three things down to 3 summaries of why the challenges exist for us: historical oppression, intergenerational trauma, and resources. And I think each one of these feeds the other. So we went from slavery to systemic oppression and implicit biases to the school to prison pipeline, and everything is an extension of that moving forward. Intergenerational trauma, the NIH study that I've added here talks about how slavery, implicit biases, and systemic oppression have truly changed the DNA of Black and Brown people. And as a result of that, there's a lot of things that have come out of our community. Resources, money, access to systems, access to information, knowledge on how to navigate systems, education, cultural incompetence, time, infrastructure. I'm sure you guys could add 30 more things to that list, but when you impede a person's ability to access resources and you impede a person's ability to access information that teaches you how to navigate systems within one's community, you are essentially crippling that community. Where we are in the process, we're organizing. So I think that really, we have kind of dipped our toes in this entire line, this entire process, but truly we are building those strategic partnerships. We are having conversations with stakeholders. We are having conversations with law enforcement. We are not an oppositional organization. We have partnerships that allow us to sit in on training with law enforcement command as well as officers who walk beats. I go to those meetings and I bring community members with us, so that we have an opportunity to hear their side and they have an opportunity to hear our side. We are working with lawmakers. We are working with individuals within the community. We do a ton of education around all things: mental health, mental illness, what that looks like, how to be protective, what should we be saying, how to communicate, how to ask questions, how to access systems. And so we have been organizing for a long time, but with the opportunity to have someone dedicated to this full time, we have seen great strides and great movement, in just our ability to have conversations and our ability to influence the things that are happening. And so it's really been a great process thus far. One exciting thing that I want to share here as it relates to the work that we are doing in conjunction with Act Now is I am in the process of completing my background check, for a partnership with the school body that is a part of juvenile probation here in Harris County. I have a relationship with the chief probation officer, Henry Gonzalez, and we are in the process of basically working with the youth that are part of a GED program and vocational program through juvenile probation to find out what happened and where the breakdown was in terms of why they became disenfranchised from the traditional educational system. We are talking to them, we are talking to their parents, and then conversely, we will have conversations with those who have subscribed to mainstream education, who are Black and Brown, and those parents, and find out what the differences are. This work is a long-term project, but it is in the hopes of changing how educators are trained, giving them more insight around why it is that cookie cutter education and cookie cutter discipline does not work. We want to encourage schools to have healing circles, have restorative justice rather than just expulsion and suspension. And so we are in the beginning stages of developing that work now. This was a prayer breakfast that we had for youth where we gave all of the kiddos ties and we showed them how to tie them. And the video here that I'll show you is the last 6 months in review. Let's see if we can get some sound going. In that video, what you saw was FBI agents and command leaders. You saw civil rights attorneys. You saw one of the liaisons to the office of the vice president, the police chief here in Houston, the district attorney here in Houston. We are a across the aisle organization that wants to work with everyone so that the outcomes are the same for everyone. We want our children to come home safe, just like everybody else does. This is also kind of just a collage of things. This gentleman here was exonerated after 30 years of being in prison and started one of the Innocence Projects in Los Angeles. These are my 2023-2024 Mob United interns, and believe it or not, he is 18 in this picture and he is 14 in this picture. So they are big boys. This is 2023 Congressional Black Caucus, so last year's caucus, with Jazz Miles, our intern, and our congresswoman. This is Philonise Floyd, George Floyd's brother. They have a foundation that is based out of Houston, and Philonise and your Charlikita Floyd, George Floyd's sister, they are partners of ours. My last why, my son AJ, who is my biggest push, he has some mental health challenges from that stem from some physical issues that he has. And during the pandemic, his psyche was basically dismantled. I don't have another way of describing it. And I called for crisis intervention 3 times during the pandemic. They came out to my house per protocol in Harris County, Houston. They send police officers, and because he was acting erratic at 16 years old, the police officers drew their guns on him, and 3 times I physically put my body between my 16-year-old son and police officers and told them that if they were going to take him, they were going to take me. And so that, I can say, was probably one of the most traumatizing times of my life. He was hospitalized 3 times for suicidal ideation attempts and being in a mental health crisis. He is the reason why I keep pushing. This is my announcement. I was awarded the Forward Promise Fellowship for leaders in my community, and I am still part of that fellowship. I'm very proud of that. It is through the Mariah Group and through the Robert Woods Johnson Foundation. This is Jaylen Brown's mother. Her son went out a 16-story window at Duquesne University with 2 police officers and 2 security guards from the school present in the dorm room with her son, and no one has explained how he died through the window. This is Eric Garner's mother. He was killed by chokehold on Staten Island. We all know who this is. This is CBC 2023. We did lose Sheila this year to pancreatic cancer, but she will always be part of Houston's history, and she was a fierce advocate of the work that we are doing. This is from command training, a community organization called Dedication to Community. We had a training where we brought both sides of the aisle together again. As you can see, everyone from myself, Ben Crump, these were all command leaders. So these were not individuals who walked the beat, but the people who are sending them out to do so. And we had a very robust 3-day conversation in Miami about how we can make change. This was a picnic that I spoke at for Lehigh Valley Promise Neighborhood. It is an anti-gun violence organization led by a gentleman who spent 17 years in prison and came home dedicated to repairing the community. So Dr. Hassan Batts founded and runs that organization. And he is another one of our partners. We went out there with 50 some odd young people and barbecued and fried fish and had a good old time. This gentleman here, he was exonerated after 20 years, and we met at an organizational awards that ceremony we were at, and he just kind of shared his story. This is another Dedication to Community meeting that we had also in Miami, but the people you see in this picture are actually the individuals who walk the beat. And so we had a conversation. I had the opportunity to bring my intern Jazz with me to this one. So he was part of the solution and did a very awesome job just conversing with the officers about how he felt as an 18-year-old young man. Oscar Grant's mother here, Wanda, Oscar Grant was killed at Fruitvale Station in California, and she has started a foundation in his name. Robin Smith, Dr. Robin Smith, who used to be the resident psychologist for Oprah Winfrey. She is also one of our partners. DePelsha Magruder, who is our founder. Lee Merritt, who is a national civil rights attorney. This is Valerie Castile, Philando Castile's mom. This young man was arrested 3 times, convicted twice, and jailed once for a crime he did not commit because he fit the description. And he now is a firefighter after he worked tirelessly for 19 years to clear his name so he can find his dream of being a firefighter. My hat, I don't know if you can see it, but it says my trauma does not define me. And so it is one of the things that I hold near and dear. I've experienced a lot of trauma in my life, but we are not defined by that. None of us are. This is our DC chapter leader, Lisa Burton. What's interesting about Lisa is she is a Black Blue mom. She is a Black woman who has 2 Black sons and a Black daughter, but she is also a former sworn officer and currently a civilian officer who works in internal affairs for the FBI. And Jazz again accompanied me to this presentation for a group of young people. I just love this picture of Jazz. I added it. It's just him getting his hands washed at an Indian restaurant we were at, but it was just so warming to see him just be catered to for a moment. This is the site of where George Floyd was murdered and what it looks like now when I went to go visit it. This is the actual site where Philando Castile took his last breath. This is a Houston Rockets 21st Century Mob United co-branded event that I spoke at and participated in the panel. We also did a demonstration which allowed 40 Texas Southern University criminal justice major students that you can't see in this picture do a simulation of what police officers experience when they arrive at a crime scene or an alleged crime scene. And they had to act as the police officers. And it just gave everybody in the room, me included, some insight of what it feels like from the other side of it. This gentleman here is a representative from Kamala Harris's office. Ben Crump, this is the police chief. So we had a good representation of a lot of different communities all together with one. This is the 2024 celebration of life of Philando Castile, where the community came out on the day that he was murdered in the healing garden that has now been planted in his honor. And I'll share another quote from myself that I often share. And it says, justice means our loved ones get to live. Accountability means no one gets away with killing them. Q&A, thank you.
Thank you, Kimberly.
Fast or
yeah. Thank you, Kimberly. That's powerful. And the influence not only in your own community, but across the country that you're having, and you're giving voice to moms that are often silenced in this process. And so we really appreciate you being a part of Act Now. And it really reflects a commitment to keep kids out of the criminal justice system and providing those kinds of services. Any questions for Kimberly?
Kimberly, could you talk for just a minute about how many communities are kind of coalescing or organizing, and what that looks like. Are they formal, informal? How can we help in a meaningful way, not co-opt, but to truly support what you're doing? Talk to
So-
us about that.
So currently we have 9 national chapters, like Jim shared. But we also have representatives that we can call on nationally. So for instance, if something happens, I don't know, in Phoenix, there's a person who I can call in Phoenix and say, hey, this is going on. We need more information about this. We want to speak out. Good example of that. Actually, I said Phoenix and didn't even realize that it kind of segues in. But a good example of that is there's a gentleman who was just beat up by the police in Phoenix, where he's deaf and he has special needs, and so could not hear the commands of the officer who was talking to him, and it was viewed as defiance, and so they beat him up. That is one issue that Mob United is now working with contacts we have in Phoenix to get more information about what happened and how we can advocate on his behalf. The other part of that, though, is one of our other partners is Blue Runway for Autism. And this young man, Eric Carpenter Grantham, he is autistic. He's 20 years old. And we have highlighted him several times on our autism awareness showcase that we do every April. He has created a bill that's actually at the House right now to be able to put small decals by choice on people's identifications, any identifications that will help to identify silent disabilities. That is one way that we can help stop these kinds of things from happening. The easiest way to support us is always the same, right? Share our content, subscribe to our LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, whatever Twitter is now, TikTok. We're on all of those platforms. We share content on all of those platforms. Subscribe so that you get our information, you know, when our podcasts are launching. We have several initiatives going on right now. One of the biggest ones is our Level Up the Vote initiative, which is much less about telling people to go register to vote and much more about making people aware of how we're impacted by the vote. 7 to 10% of individuals vote in local elections, which means that 7 to 10% of your population, your very population, get to decide what happens for you. And if you're not participating in that, then your voice is truly not heard. So, you know, outside of the national elections, which are very, very important, and we know that our locales, where we have our police chiefs, where we have our judges, we can't complain about the judge and the police officers and all of that stuff if we're not participating in that process. We have our image campaign. We have our grace campaign. Our grace campaign says you don't have to be the perfect citizen to be protected. So there are lots of different ways, and always, you can always go to donate. Like everybody, all of us probably on this call need money to get these initiatives done. So that's always a thing that you can do as well.
Kimberly, how do our sites, if they want more information or they want to become part of your movement, what are the steps they would take to do that?
Shoot me an email. We can set up a call, have a conversation, see where the synergy is so that we can figure out, where we can partner in different projects. If we have one, if you have one, if you don't, we can make one. I don't like to reinvent the wheel. Full transparency, I'm the only full-time paid employee for Mob United. I work with 20 to 25 volunteers and 2 contract employees, one who is a grant writer and one who handles our online content and our graphic development. So if you got it and we need it, or I got it and you need it, let's do it together.
Any questions or comments?
I see a few things in the chat. Let me open it and see if there's anything to answer here.
Okay.
Great program, Kimberly.
Thank you. Okay, I don't see any questions. Thank you for all of the positive comments, and I will grab contact information from the chat. Is there anything else I can share? This is a small snippet of the work that we do. We really do a lot of different things. I really do encourage you to visit www.mobunited.org, and I'll drop that in the chat because there's a lot of different avenues that we touch. We support a lot of families who have been impacted by this kind of thing. Lots of moms who have lost their children, and lots of moms who don't want to lose their children.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
visit the website and let's see where the synergy lies.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you very much. Appreciate your leadership. You're based out of Houston, right? Okay, good. Okay, I think that concludes our webinar for today. Just a reminder that we're still collecting this monthly data on meetings that you've held, the number of people that have participated. I have to say that we submitted last month's report, and our program officer was very impressed with the work you're doing and the number of meetings that you're having and how you're beginning to evolve and develop programs around youth deflection. So that was encouraging and very helpful. So keep that data, keep collecting that data and keep sending it to Daryl. Daryl is managing the collection of that data, and appreciate his involvement. So any other questions or comments around theory of change or anything else related to Act Now? If not, we will keep you posted on our next meeting, and keep up the work. Let me know as you schedule Breaking Bread events. Our program officer out of Walmart would like to attend a Breaking Bread event. And so we're trying to make that happen in a couple of our sites. So if you get those scheduled, let me know. Okay? So thank you. Have a good day.
Have a great day.
Thanks,
Thank you,
everybody.
Thank you,
Kimberly,
Kim.
Bye.
very much.
To see
Stay
you all.
safe, everybody.
Thank you, Kim.